Alright gamers, listen up and listen close. I'm gonna have to do a voiceover for this because recording with your phone is not a good idea as far as audio is concerned. Not only did the quality suck, but it was also incredibly windy on top of that, and you literally could not hear anything that wasn't my voice. And even then, it wasn't that good. So we're gonna be doing a bit of a guerrilla-styled live voiceover to my visit to the Grayrock Animal Farm Sanctuary in Clinton, New Jersey. It's a little ways away from where I live, but it is one of the closer animal rescues that's nearby. My uncle was friends with the guy who used to live on the property, but after he passed away, he did hear that the new, residents did have a sanctuary there. And my uncle, knowing how much I loved animals and wanted a place to volunteer at, was wondering if we could head over and visit. We had a great time taking a look at all the animals and hanging out with Donna. How do you pronounce her last name? Gervasi. I don't know how you say that in English. I got a Italian pronunciation. Anyways, Donna runs pretty much the entire farm by herself. She does a lot of events, birthday parties, on top of a bunch of other stuff to help raise funds and just get more exposure in general. She's rescued a ton of different animals, and a lot of them desperately needed new homes, if not all of them, because some of these stories are pretty awful. This is just going to be a little wholesome journey throughout the sanctuary, and I've got a neat surprise for you guys at the end, so stay tuned. So starting off, we got some beautiful birds. I believe that first one is a Rhode Island red. I have no idea what that is. Creme lay bar, I don't know. But I think that black one was an I am Kamani, which is pretty interesting that one of those would need rehoming. People think that they're extremely expensive when in reality they're not. Like, I mean, they're expensive for a chicken, but yeah, I don't know. This is her pond. There's a lot of wild geese and ducks that come and visit, but she also has 4 ducks of her own. They're in the left corner over here. I'm going to zoom in on them in a second. A lot of them, some of the wild ones were actually sold to her by Tractor Supply, which is illegal. But you can see, she's got 1 male and 3 females, which actually works out because with ducks, the females need to overwhelm, the overwhelming majority of them need to be female, because the ducks, if the ratio is equal, or God forbid, there's more males than females, the females will get brutalized, because male ducks, when their hormones kick in and they want to mate, there's not much stopping them. There's actually a pretty awful evolutionary war going on between them. So this here is Freckles. He is a blind Appaloosa horse. This is the one that I actually remembered his breed. He's a beautiful boy, he really is. He's about 30 years old, which is pretty old for a horse, but he's doing pretty well for himself. He has lemonitis, which is a condition with horses where they eat too much sugar and they can get like an arthritis sort of condition. But he's doing great. Even for a blind old horse with lemonitis, he does great with people, he does great with the kids, and he serves as a great educational ambassador for horses in general, even though ambassadors are typically referred to for wild animals, so forget what I just said. This is all over the place. So inside of the enclosure with Freckles is his seeing eye horse. Oh, I forgot her name. Gracie. Grace? God, I feel like an idiot. Anyways, this is her. She's a beautiful lady. And, she has a bell, or at least, for what I know, she has a bell, and she works as a seeing eye horse for Freckles, because, he'll know where to go for the food and pets. But, he had a really great sense of hearing. I mean, he was able to, like, just by the sound of our voices, he came right over to the fence, knew exactly where it was. You can imagine some sensory deprivation ought to do that to you. And since he's old and she needs to go on a diet, the two of them being on a low supplementary diet helps them both. It was just a great convenience for Donna. We talked a little bit during this part about how mares get a very bad reputation, just in general with equestrians and otherwise. A lot of them say that mares are like problematic and they're bitchy and sassy for no reason, excuse my language, but in reality that's just a pretty negative stereotype, and like all animals you just need to work with them, and she is no exception of that. She does great with the kids, even better than Freckles from what I know. And she is one of the least problematic horses I've ever met. It's a good system they've got going on here. I've never seen a horse, I've never seen horse enclosures where it's kind of like one big loop, as in a fenced area that kind of loops around the property that they can go to, and it's not just like a big open field, but they do have a pretty large open rodeo-like area. I don't know the name, but it's a much bigger pen that they have access to run around. And since they're older, you know, they don't need as much exercise, and this is plenty of space for them for the time being. And for those of you who don't know, horses can withstand pretty cold temperatures, so these guys are just fine. Oh, you can see a little hawk in the background there. That was pretty awesome. I didn't even notice that at the time. I was just looking at their butts. Not literally, but that was the only part of the horses I could see. This was actually kind of intimidating for me because I have never been next to a horse inside of the enclosure, aside from like a pony ride I did when I was like 4 years old or something. So, you know, while I know a lot about horses for someone who's never worked with them, just seeing an animal that's easily, I don't even know, 10 times heavier than you could definitely be a little bit intimidating for you, but obviously I kept my cool because they know they reflect the same energy back at you. So this right here is Benjamin. He was an adorable little lamb, and he stole my heart for this this tour because all he did was just follow us around for food, and he loved getting pet, and he was so soft, and he was just the sweetest little boy. He acted pretty much like a dog, and this really puts into perspective a lot of the animals, like sheep and goats and stuff. They can be really affectionate. A lot of animals that people eat on the regular and are slaughtered in the billions each year can be just as affectionate as a dog. And this is debatable because there isn't enough research done on it, but I could almost guarantee that they can provide the same healing effects as a dog if the research on it is extended further. But not a lot of people are being paid for that sort of thing, and that's a whole other can of worms. Ben was rejected by his mother from a young age. I'm actually not sure. It's a pretty common thing with sheep. I'm not sure why they do this. If I were to guess, I'd say it's like out of, it's the same thing that a lot of bird species do, where they prioritize the eldest or strongest chicks for the sake of not preserving, for the sake of not wasting a lot of resources and nutrients on taking care of the weaker one. But I've never seen that kind of behavior with herd animals, especially sheep, who have literally been domesticated by humans, so they should be living life on the easy lane. So I'm actually not sure why sheep do this, but it does happen relatively often. And he's a meat breed, which means essentially they eat until they get morbidly obese, and they essentially just eat themselves to death, which is what a lot of the ones that get slaughtered are for. There's a lot of meat breeds of chicken, turkey, cow, you name it. It was really important to make sure that he never overate. He was chewing on the chain link fence earlier, which was pretty funny, or later in this video, I should say. But he was such a sweet boy. He was letting me pet him the same way I pet my dog Miles, where he's like puts his face right against my leg, and it broke my heart because people eat them. Inside of the barn, this here was Ernie. Yes, this was Ernie, the pig. She recently rescued this pig, Ernie, along with another pig, Bert, from the Middlesex County Zoo. I believe it's like Thompson Park, one of those areas. They got flooded not too long ago, and I believe they're shut down like indefinitely because of that. These pigs are traumatized, which is why he's not approaching me, because he's still a little bit iffy and he hasn't been worked with too much. Pigs are incredibly intelligent animals. They're actually smarter than dogs, if you can believe that. That whole area, that entire zoo, got flooded not too long ago, which is really sad to think about because there were a ton of animals in there. And they apparently watched one of the other pigs in that zoo drown, it makes me really sad to think about. Because a lot of the animals that were in that zoo, and from what I know are still in that area to this day, come from a petting zoo that was in this park that's like literally right around the corner from my dad's house. And I grew up going to that petting zoo. They had a blind horse there too as well, and they were being pretty mistreated as well. So to think that all of those animals went from one horrible place to another horrible place makes me really sad, but at least these pigs are at a good home. This here was the interior of her barn. I'm actually not sure. I believe there were 2 other pigs that were hidden and buried because of the cold. That right there was Ernie in the back, and he's even more scared than Bert. And like I said, these 2 pigs are traumatized. It's very hard to... They're emotionally scarred on top of their intelligence, so it takes a lot of patience to work with an animal like that. I'm actually a little bit more intimidated by pigs than horses, and I'm actually not sure why. There's just something about the... Oh, look at Ben eating he's like grooming himself. But yeah, pigs also kind of intimidate me a bit, especially the huge breeds where it's just like, they can get to like 200 pounds, and forget about the wild hogs, they can get huge. Because I haven't even bulked up that much. So right next to the barn and the stables, this is when... Oh, no. I thought that was when he was going to eat the chains. So this here is the area with the 2 Alpine dairy goats. Those 2 were male. I couldn't get enough of Benjamin, sorry. And her former barrel racing horse, I forget his name. I will put it on screen because I'm going to inevitably rewatch this. And once I eventually get to there, I couldn't get enough of Ben. These 3 were kept together because the goats started headbutting the pigs, and one of them actually bit one of his ears. It was this one up front. But these goats actually kind of creep me out a bit. Nothing against them, but it's understandable that the reason they're actually here is because they were going to be sent to Jersey City for satanic rituals, which is apparently a thing that happened. Look at Ben. There it is. Which is apparently a thing that happens quite often in Jersey City, which is... I'm genuinely speechless that so many idiots will do some shit like that. It actually makes me so incredibly angry. But they were just chilling. This guy up front was giving me a bit of a stink eye, which was like, oh, I don't know what's going on there, but they're pretty sweet. This is when old boy heard his name, so he came right on over, which goes to show the intelligence of horses. A lot of people only associate this kind of behavior being of recognizing their name with like dogs and stuff, but there are a lot of animals that have the intelligence for that, and horses are more than intelligent enough for that kind of thing. And this guy stole my heart as well. There's my uncle petting him. He's looking for treats, no doubt. He was a formal barrel race horse, and as soon as she told me that, I, like, probably spat on the ground because I hate barrel racing with all my heart. I believe I spoke about it in my horse video regarding just how awful rodeos and horse races are, and barrel racing is no exception to that. It's probably worse on average, but all of it's terrible and abusive. He is a retired barrel race horse, so luckily he never has to be subject to that crap ever again. But he is such a sweetheart. You can see, this was when I was really able to, like, have that moment of connection with another animal, with another horse. I've had this moment of connection with a lot of different animals, but not so much a horse. I don't have as much experience with them as I'd like to admit. But I was really able to just look into his eyes and kind of, like, understand the intelligence behind those eyes, because you look into the eyeball of an animal like that, and behind those eyes there's just huge brain, and you want to know what's going on in there. You know what I mean? They're thinking about so much. Donna also has a positive relationship with another gardening farm, I believe, that's nearby, where she can get fresh hay for them, because hay, it needs to be, like, kind of high quality, due to the fact that if they have needles in them and stuff, it can hurt their mouths, and some of it is a little too rough for their teeth, especially since her horses are in the on the elderly side. It's really funny how these 3 boys just chill together. The Alpine dairy goat is another, I guess, livestock goat breed, if you could call it that. It's basically the females are raised for their milk, and the males are raised for meat. So these 2 goats would have absolutely been killed for one reason or another had they not been rescued. They're very, I don't want to say useless, but from a livestock perspective, they're pretty useless. This was Ben just looking for more food. I couldn't get enough of this fucking sheep. He was so cute the entire time. And I believe I'm about to end the video in a couple seconds because we started shit-talking a former company that I worked at. But if you wanted to understand the process of this entire tour, Donna explained the whole process of the farm and gave us a ton of educational information, whereas my uncle just said a bunch of unrelated stuff, and I was gawking at the animals the entire time, and honestly, I was only able to scratch the tip of the iceberg of what I was thinking the entire time. The entire place was very immersive, and just like rolling up, I was like, holy crap, this place is like, you can tell how much hard work was put into this. And I'm really proud of the sanctuary, and I'm happy to report, here's the big news that I was telling you guys about in the beginning, I will actually be volunteering at this sanctuary soon. Yeah, there's some issues regarding work, but Donna and I touched base, we're all chilling, and I'm excited to be working here. My plan as far as volunteering goes was going to be just to hop from place to place, and while this area is it's impressive, but compared to other sanctuaries and stuff, it is relatively small, and it would be a great place to start off and get some experience, because I do not have any professional experience with a majority of these animals. For those of you who are new to the channel, the reason I am trying to volunteer at a ton of different animal sanctuaries is because the whole process in getting a permit to open your own sanctuary, as well as stuff like wildlife permits and trappers permits, involves racking up your hours at these sanctuaries and eventually getting letters of recommendation and whatnot. I wasn't sure where I was gonna go for sure, but this place is definitely it, or it definitely seems like it. It's on a smaller scale to the point where I can't really be overwhelmed with tasks, and obviously places like this are always looking for volunteers. Because it's hard work, you know, a lot of people do volunteer at these places, but they never last because all they want to do is play with the animals and not rake the horse poop. But this is something that I have more than enough experience with, at least on a smaller scale, and we're just getting even more baby steps into my process, because I want to eventually open my own animal farm sanctuary down the line. And by down the line, I mean like years down the line. It was originally going to be in this house, which was why the basement renovations were going to happen, but there were a couple complications with that. So in the meantime, I might as well just keep my head down and do stuff like this. I was so happy learning about these animals in particular and talking with Donna, and here's hoping that the sooner the better when I join them, and I'll probably be able to document more for you guys. And I'm hoping that this goes well for all of us. Take care, everybody. I'm really sorry for how low quality this video was. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I need a camera, but I also don't have money. So, yeah. I'm gonna stop my rambling and just end the video here and now.